President of Seoul National University, Dr. Oh Se-jung, distinguished experts and panelists, all guests joining the conference during the next 3 days, and Seoul National University colleagues and everyone who have worked hard to organize this important event, the Green Smart Development and Vision Conference 2021. It is my great pleasure to be part of this year's GSDV conference on the theme of the Great Transformation. First, I believe this event is particularly timely and relevant as we are in the midst of a global pandemic and an unprecedented sustainability crisis. Since nearly a year and a half ago, the world has been forced to come to grips with the harsh reality that chronic diseases can be strongly linked to climate change, air pollution, deforestation, and other man-made phenomena. But while our scientists developed the vaccines in record time, there are no such vaccines for the climate crisis. As tragic and difficult the pandemic has been for the entire global community, especially for those that have less resources to shield themselves from the devastating impacts, incredible efforts have been and are being made to rise up and emerge from the pandemic. Governments are investing huge sums of trillions of dollars in recovery packages, and we need to seize this opportunity and make sure the pandemic recovery will help accelerate the transition to green growth and not go back to business as usual. According to the International Energy Agency, global carbon emissions have bounced back to pre-pandemic levels already, and this year we'll see one of the greatest increases in emissions ever. That is why I and the Global Green Growth Institute, since the beginning month of the pandemic last year, have been speaking out on the importance of a green recovery. Fortunately, we are also witnessing a significant shift and a new momentum. From the European Green Deal, announced in late 2019, to last year's key new commitments to carbon neutrality by 2050 by the Republic of Korea and other countries, to the renewed commitment and leadership by the United States this year, there are many reasons for optimism. Most recently, the net zero pledges from numerous corporations and even the inclusion of green-minded members on major corporate boards are all very positive signs that we may finally be at a momentous turning point in history. There is finally a shift in the collective thinking that countries and companies that make the necessary transition first will be the ones, thanks to the head start, that will have the comparative advantage and be able to lead. Ladies and gentlemen, but we can do even better. We must do better. As you know, following my 37-year career as a Korean diplomat, I had the privilege of serving as the 8th Secretary General of the United Nations, and my time in the United Nations is often defined by the Paris Climate Change Agreement and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. My hope is that we, as a global community, can see the pandemic as the final warning from our planet and work together to seize this opportunity. For too long, we have ignored the warning signs from our planet. I hope we, as a global community, will heed the warnings and learn from our past mistakes, rather than take the easier and more familiar path of going back to business as usual. Lastly, Allow me to wrap up by reminding you that poor people are still far from recovering from the pandemic, and they are also the most vulnerable to the climate crisis. I am proud to lead the Global Green Growth Institute as the President of the Assembly and Chair of the Council because GGGI's vision of green growth is growth that is environmentally sustainable and socially inclusive. GGGI understands that green transformations and ambitious climate actions cannot succeed without a deliberate focus on equitable distribution of both the costs and benefits of green transitions. To transform successfully, we will need everyone across borders, public and private sectors, political parties, professional disciplines, and rich and poor communities to work together. And we need to work together now. We may not get another warning. Thank you again for the opportunity to address you today, and I wish you a very green and fruitful conference. Thank you. 감사합니다.